relationship between men and women in this regard, in terms of the need for women, it's a chicken and egg situation, right? Women are not more important than men, right? And men are not more important than women. It's a chicken and egg thing. This dynamic between the body and the spirit they feed into each other. What else? Women also, what they do is that they provide support for the structure of the body, okay, by establishing a spiritual body within the physical body. So the physical body is held by men, and it's sort of it's rooted in violence. It's rooted in violence. It's order that is meant to be enforced, and it's a barrier between chaos. It's a barrier that keeps chaos out, okay, through physical defense and so on. But it's also law and order, right? So to ensure the integrity of the body, you know, the, that integrity has to be defended and enforced physically. And that's what you call the law. Okay. Now, what women do is that they establish a spiritual body, which is the culture that stems from the laws. Okay. So they create like a spirit body of the law. So a lot of unwritten rules that sort of drive the natural, uh, let's say, sort of metaphysical dynamic between people within the community. Okay, but ultimately they do this to bolster the law. Whatever the spirit body of the law serves to strengthen the law, so that there's other mechanisms of enforcing the law. Other mechanisms, so mechanisms other than violence. So things like shaming, gossiping, um, bullying, whatever, like these sort of psychological, more mentally based alternatives to physical enforcement. Okay, so that for me, this is what I call culture. They sort of the main drivers of culture. Um, and that culture does influence the men as well, and then you have that sort of back and forth relationship between the laws and the cultures can change the law can change the culture, and it's sort of they sort of balance each other out. So again, neither really supersedes the other. Maybe one may be stronger than another in a given context, but not overall. All right. Overall, neither one comes before the other, and so don't take it to mean that men have to set this up first, and then women. I mean, remember, men are given are born from women, and they are raised first. They're taught first by women, by their mothers. So don't get into which comes first. That's a chicken and egg. It's a useless type of thinking. You just have to start somewhere, choose where you want to start, and start. All right. But my perspective is, given where we are now, I would say that, especially for Black people, the men are the ones who have to sort of start the process of rebuilding our communities, because there's just a general lack of culture in terms of law and order in our communities, especially Black communities. So if you look at what's happening, for example, in South Africa today, right, and the various social issues that you see, especially sort of, you know, based off of the moral decay of our communities, of our people, of us, okay, um, and looking at it from the perspective of women's interests, okay, you find that women under this kind of environment are not well off, because look at the crime against women. Okay, we'll get to the crime against men, because there is crime against men, all right? But look at the crime against women. Women are not safe when men do not collaborate. A lot of what has been happening, especially what I've seen on the internet, you have this sort of idea that there's a problem with women and the way that women are behaving. Okay, firstly, yes, there is a problem, but The problem is not in that there's something wrong with women. Okay, the way that women are behaving, they are actually behaving according to their nature in terms of their, in terms of the step-by-step mechanism of their behavior, their natural behavior. Okay, because remember, women are supposed to behave in a manner that bolsters the status quo. This is how women behave. They form a culture that is a spirit body of the status quo, which is the physical status, the physical violence based status quo. Now, the reason you have men out there, right, who will say, you know, women are disrespectful, they become promiscuous and they become, slutty and whatnot, and so on, sort of critiquing their behavior. What they miss is that what is the root cause of the behavior, right? Because women are the programming. When I mean programming, I don't mean social programming. I mean the natural programming of women. There's nothing wrong with it. They're not corrupted. They're not malfunctioning. Okay, they are functioning as they should. The problem is the environment that they are mirroring or that they are bolstering. There's something wrong with that environment. Now, this comes from the fact that, the men that complain about women, if they are part of a group of men, right? Or they are members of one of two groups of men. Let me put it that way. They are members of one of two groups of men, both groups of which are at war with each other. This is what is happening in society right now. And the behavior of women is simply a symptom of that war. You have men in government. So you have men, let's take South Africa, a group of men, right? But let's take South Africa as a community, not as a country, okay? So let's just take a community as an example, but picture that community as the country, all right? So these men come together and they do what I've been saying. They institutionalize their relationships. They basically, you know, uh, project the rules that they come with, sort of to apply to a specific area of land, and they establish a community. Now they have to establish rules as a part of this process, and that normally leads to um, uh, task management, right? They have to allocate tasks to one another, and then they have to sort of set up teams and responsibilities thereof in terms of who handles this and who handles that, to sort of get this thing functioning and and to be able to maintain it. The people that are allocated to these tasks are given teams that are supposed to support them in fulfilling these tasks or in completing these tasks. These people, right, that are given these teams, we call those people leaders. And that is actually a wrong label to give them, because the term leadership, the term leader is problematic, and I'll make another video about it. I won't go into it now. But these people are not actually leaders. They are servants. They've been sent to complete a task, and they're given the resources to do that task. Now, these are, for example, the people that we will vote for to become our leaders, our counselors, our politicians, and so on. Okay, in the current way we do things, right? Now, what has happened is that um, when we send these people to do these things, we have given them a space where they can, it's sort of like a space separate from the community. And we give them their own sort of communal space where they can come together and sort of socialize and develop relationships amongst each other. That was a mistake. And this comes from our misunderstanding of leadership and what is a leader, right? These people, they we have nominated them from amongst, they are one of us. So we should never sort of put them above us in any sense. We have to maintain that equality amongst us. But we have failed to do that. And this is what has led us to where we are now in terms of the war between men. It's a war between these groups of men whom we nominated to put there and us. So what has happened is that they then form relationships with one another and they become more familiar with one another than with the rest of us. We, the group, the original brotherhood that nominated them becomes alien to them because they spend so much time together and separate from the brotherhood. They form their own brotherhood. Okay, they form their own brotherhood, and then they start to scheme for their own benefit against the original brotherhood. So this is what is happening when you see stories of corruption, where the news say these people are corrupt because they're stealing money. In natural terms, and according to the laws of nature, these people are not being corrupt at all. They are serving the relationships that are most meaningful to them, that are most involved in their lives. And the original group is no longer as involved in their lives because they've, by nominating them, not by nominating them, when we nominated them, we also gave them sort of a special domain for them. We started to view them as above us in some way. And I think the reason we did that, I don't know exactly why, but my thinking is because I think we misinterpreted the the authority they have over the resources given to them by us to complete the tasks. And therefore, we've extrapolated that authority to mean that they also have authority over the original brotherhood. But the resources they have to complete tasks are from us. Government, if you look at government that has the money that government has is our taxes, it's our money. Okay, so we have given them the resources and we've given them the task to do. We are the ones who have sent them. We're the ones who give them the authority. It comes from us. But when we nominate them, we start to worship them. We undermine ourselves. We put ourselves under them. This is the issue with leadership. I'll make another video discussing it in more detail. But essentially now, they have now sort of developed a mentality from the relationships that they've established, which is natural. Human beings, that's how we behave. That's how we are built. We develop a mentality from the quality of the relationships that we have. And their identity now is separate from the brotherhood. And now they are sort of their endeavor, their goals do not align with the goals of the original brotherhood. And that is what is happening. So now you have, they are in charge of the laws, they are in power because we've nominated them there. They're the government, they're the politicians, they're the rich businessmen and so on. Okay, rich businessmen are not nominated like politicians. They're nominated with money. We support their businesses, we buy their products, and that's how we nominate them. That's how we give them power. Um, yeah, so they now have, and through various market mechanisms, they leverage the brotherhood, the original brotherhood, to maintain power over and maintain authority over those resources. In fact, what the brotherhood does, the brotherhood, us as the brotherhood people, the original brotherhood, the men, the original sort of group of men, they start competing against one another for the resources that they originally gave these sort of second brotherhood guys, the guys in power, you know. And this is why you could call this a deception or a confusion, or but there's a serious hysteria amongst the population. There's a serious sort of sense of ignorance where they don't see how this doesn't make sense. It's the people that put these sort of politicians in power. But once we put them in power, we compete against one another to suck up to them, to serve them. But actually, the reason they're there is to serve us. We are not supposed to be below them, but we put ourselves there. And then they take advantage of that ignorance. All right. So the competition amongst the original brotherhood, I called it Brotherhood One, for the resources that initially they gave these people is what then enables these people to have control over The original brotherhood, because the original brotherhood is more numerous in number than than the second brotherhood. But they become divided through their competition for these resources. Okay, of which the resources belong to the original brotherhood as a collective. But then we start competing as individuals for these resources. So these people remain united within their second brotherhood, and then they work collectively to take advantage of the original brotherhood. Then the original brotherhood the unity of the original brotherhood breaks down, and therefore there is no original brotherhood anymore. There's just a bunch of men running around within an environment now established and maintained by the second brotherhood that people empower. Do you understand? And this is how the community has broken down. Okay. So, how this applies to women is that women, remember, women seek an environment that is predictable and secure, all right, so that they can establish a spiritual body of that environment and thus promote prosperity as the two environments, work together. But now what's happening is, as if you're an average man, which means a man who is not part of the, let's say, the higher classes, right? Part of the rich or part of the political class, and you're not in those circles. You're not part of that, right? What happens is that you are actually supposed to be a part of a group that manages and that establishes, manages, and maintains the social status quo of your environment. But because you have lost sight of who you are, okay, and now you fight other men who are supposed to be your spiritual brothers in competition for resources, in competition to get into the second brotherhood. Because of that, you now do not have you now do not have a brotherhood you can count on, and thus you do not have a domain you can call yours, and you do not have the power that comes with brotherhood. You don't have the strength that comes with brotherhood. Okay, and therefore any woman that you deal with will actually be a woman that that as part of the collective of women is working to bolster the environment within which now you share with her, which is the environment that is established by by the people in charge. But now the people in charge, remember, they have no interest to serve, they have no desire to serve the interests of people outside of their brotherhood, because they're serving their own brotherhood. They want to maintain their power, the authority over the resources, and so on. They are not working to serve anyone outside of that. And they're not supposed to. This is actually how things are supposed to be. You're supposed to serve your brotherhood and your sisterhood that bolsters that brotherhood as a spirit of the body. Right? The body is supposed to serve the spirit, and the spirit is supposed to serve the body, and they're supposed to work together. So this is what these men are doing as well. But they've formed their own, as I've already explained. So they're not actually being corrupt. According to the laws of nature, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. The problem here is the original brotherhood that is now disintegrated. That is where things went wrong. So what is happening now, as a man who is not part of that second brotherhood, but who's no longer part of any brotherhood, because now I'm in competition with my fellow men on the same level as me. All right. I look at women behaving in this way in accordance with the dominant status quo, which does not benefit me because I'm not part of the brotherhood, that brotherhood, the second brotherhood. Then I will critique her behavior. But she's doing what she's supposed to be doing, because these men have established a new environment that covers, for example, in this case, the country. People like Cyril Ramaphosa, Jacob Zuma, and whatnot. That class, as well as the businessmen, the Afrikaner businessmen, and hats off, and whoever they are, right? They've established a national environment that serves them, of which they're supposed to establish an environment that serves them. So, are they doing anything wrong? No, not naturally speaking. In terms of human laws, yes, but not in terms of natural law. They're just serving their communities, their own communities. So what is happening is that men are complaining. The average man complains about the behavior of the average woman, but they don't see that actually that behavior is heavily influenced, not driven, heavily influenced by the hegemonic status quo, the status quo of the country as a whole, as driven by the guys at the top. Okay, because they're the ones who now enforce the rules through the police, right? Through the police and security, the army. You know, right now, if you look, the average man does not have a right to exercise violence. If a man exercises violence, the top guys will send police to come and arrest him because he's not part of their brotherhood. All right. So this is essentially what you see when you see a lot of prostitution. The reason why it is happening, it serves the interests of the men at the top. It is driven by mechanisms that are established by the men at the top. I mean, it serves it is influenced heavily by the market conditions and the social conditions that are driven by the guys at the top through legislation, through company policies and hiring policies and so on and so forth. How much they choose to pay people, how much so these people make decisions at the top that create the conditions for the behavior of women at the bottom, or not at the bottom, but within society. Okay, and a lot of them are aware of what they're doing. I assume. I assume. So, um, yeah, the behavior of women is there's nothing wrong with women and the way they behave. It's just that the way they behave does not align with the average man, and it shouldn't. The way a woman behaves is that they, a woman does not listen if you are a boyfriend to a girl or if you're a husband to a woman, right? When she listens to you and sort of collaborates with you, she is not actually doing that with you. And she's not even doing it because of you, right? I'm just simplifying things now. Obviously, it's more complicated than that. She loves you, she's attracted to you, but I'm saying on a just simplifying things, rounding things off. You are not the primary reason why she's collaborating with you. She's favorable to you and she's sort of behaving in the way that you like. The reason why she's behaving like that, positively, I mean, is because of your status as a member of a brotherhood. You know, women only respect the alpha male, as I've described him. But actually, what they respect is then not the male, but the nature of the relationship he has with other men as a collective brotherhood, and the usefulness of that brotherhood in facilitating a secure and stable environment for her, in which they can then provide for her and protect her. Okay, so speaking frankly, the man in an individual household is not really the one that protects the household, and is not even supposed to be the one that protects the household. He's supposed to protect the household, but not as an individual. He protects the household as part of the many. Because if whatever he is protecting the household from overcomes him, he can then call upon other men to bolster his strength. This is the beauty of this brotherhood. And that's what you can see with with right now in South Africa with the second brotherhood, this political class and the business class. If they can see that they can't handle you, they will band together. They will call the cops. If they can see that the cops are being overwhelmed, they'll call the army. Okay, they will also hit you with laws and sanctions and they'll fire you and they'll close your bank accounts. So they have all these sort of coordinated attacks that leverage their relationships in order to defend themselves against threats that they perceive, or perceived threats or threats. Okay, this is what women respect. That is what you call an alpha male. Any individual who's part of that system, any man who's part of that system, who plays a role in that system is an alpha male, right? And women respect that power. That's what they listen to, and that's what they modify their behavior towards. They don't modify their behavior to the instructions of their husband per se, because my husband instructed. No, it's because my husband, who is an alpha male, instructed. He's so it's not really him who's instructing. It's that relationship that he has with the other men that is instructing. It is whatever it is that they've done that facilitates a good life for her that is instructing her to do something, and she respects that. And the husband becomes a physical embodiment or a physical representative of that overall system in the house, because you can't have all these men in the house now. You can't have all these men married to one woman. So you have a like a Jesus Christ character, right? No, cancel that. But you have an individual man marry this woman. He is now a representative of the body of men, and therefore her safety is his responsibility, meaning by extension, it is their responsibility.